Let me tell you about my favorite people, Latin Americans or Spanish people. Now, I don't know any actual people from Spain, but as an easy reference, I consider anyone who speaks Spanish to be Spanish. They're the most fascinating, resilient, and intelligent people on the planet, in my opinion. Now, my opinion is formed based on my own career paths. I've been a chef, a restaurant manager, a construction worker, and now I own a construction company. All of these careers will place you dead center into Spanish cultures. Now, they are raised in their own countries, and most have jobs there to raise the money for the trip to America. They will leave their families, their spouses, and even their children behind to get here. And oftentimes, entire families will work to save money and send one representative to America to get a job, and then that person will then send most of their money back to their country to support their family. This fact alone makes them great people, and you will never meet an American willing to make the sacrifice. I mean, I bet they look at it like the first manned mission to Mars. You'll probably never see them again, but it's for the greater good. Now, there's a lot of racism and hatred towards Spanish people in this country, as seen in the last couple election cycles. And in my eyes, there are three types of Spanish racism. First is their own Spanish racism. Spanish culture thinks that their particular country is the pinnacle of Spanish existence. Hondurans don't like Guatemalans or Mexicans. Colombians don't like any of the three. People from El Salvador think they are at the number one position. Countries that are mainland South America don't think that the island states should even count. And Mexicans, with their close proximity to America, think that they're St. Peter manning the gates of heaven. Now, black people hate Spanish people as well, but not because they think they are better. It's more like Spanish people wrecked being the minority for them. Black people used to be the prominent minority in America. They learned how to manipulate the systems to their advantage. They knew America had its guilt about slavery, and they exploited it in every way that they could. And then along come Spanish people who basically enslaved themselves, working harder and longer hours for less money and zero benefits. They turned the jobs that black people had turned into 2- and 3-man operations into a single-person job. Soon after, black people could no longer compete. Now, white people racism towards Spanish people is just an extension of black people's racism. Early on, when black people were being replaced by Spanish people, we looked the other way. We didn't want to do those jobs anyway, so we didn't really give a shit. We thought our lower, middle, and upper management positions and skilled trades were safe. Plus, we had the unions to back us. We failed to see the long-term ramifications that a mostly Spanish workforce would cause. Suddenly, we realized that we didn't speak Spanish nor understand their culture, so we were at a disadvantage when it comes to managing and scheduling the staff. We needed Spanish supervisors, and soon after we realized, like black people, that they were better at those jobs than we were. I always found it funny when a new manager was working and none of the Spanish people showed up on Cinco de Mayo, or that the manager didn't know to only have non-Spanish scheduled for a Monday lunch, because nobody parties like them. And God forbid the World Cup was on and their country was playing. There was no chance they were going to show up for work. I once replaced 2 dishwashers with one Guatemalan. His name was Jose Santana. I was already ahead of the game because he was only $9 an hour and the other 2 combined were $22 an hour. He bounced back and forth from machines to pots and pans, and he put the deliveries away, rotating the stock, and no one had ever told him to do this. It just made sense to him. When he was slow, he would help the prep cook prep vegetables and watch him make the sauces. He couldn't read English, but he mastered the art of prep cooking, and occasionally would do the prep work on the days that the real prep cook called out. Now he was doing like 3 jobs. Sometimes we would try to fuck him up, and we would get a quart of firewood delivered in the back of the restaurant that needed to be stacked by hand. When I would be on the line managing the lunch rush, sometimes I would see him in the salad appetizer section bailing out the salad cook. And no one ever taught him any of these positions. He just watched. And it was then I realized how obsolete we were and how far advanced the Spanish people were. Like the other positions, he eventually learned the entire line and soon was opening the entire back of house operation in 4 hours alone, where before him we had a prep cook, a salad cook, a saute cook, a pizza and grill cook, and all of them for 3 hours each at an average cost of $10 per hour. By now, he was making $11 an hour. And when he would go on vacation for a week, he would supply us with his own replacement. This guy would just show up and say, Jose told me to come do his job this week. And he would. Jose only one time didn't show up for work, and it turns out that he got jumped in Trenton. and they hit him in the head with a pipe and robbed him and stole his car. A witness called the police and an ambulance, and they found him lying in the street. They called the guys who did it, and Jose didn't have any health insurance to pay the several $1,000 bill, and the police wanted him to go to court to testify, but this scared the shit out of him because he wasn't legal. So the next day he came to work with a completely new set of paperwork, a new social security card, a new alien registration ID, and a new Guatemalan driver's license. As of this day, he became Efraulio Morales. Fucking efficient they were. The last thing I heard about him was he had returned to Guatemala and was now operating a full-service Italian food truck, modeled after the Macaroni Grill, down to the Vino honor system. Fucking resourceful they are. The same is true in construction. First, they are raised in a country that uses the metric system, meters, centimeters, kilos, liters, etc. In America, building and architecture is written and performed via our standard system of measurements, created exclusively for us, probably because we were too stupid to learn the system the rest of the world uses. They come here and get jobs installing materials that they can't read the instructions for, operating tools and equipment that they can't read the operation manual for, off of a building plan written in a foreign language with an entirely different measure system, better than we can. And we created the fucking system. Their level of efficiency and ability to perform any job is considered a national threat to our white entitlement. And so our government is now taking steps to have the threat removed and blocked with a wall. They even are better at partying than us. I now work with a man named Ramos, or at least that's what I call him. His real name is Ramundo, but he never bothered to correct me. Sometimes on Friday I'll see him at the beer store after work, and I'll be getting my traditional 6-pack and maybe an airplane shot of vodka. Ramos will have a 24-pack of Heineken and a bottle of Buchanan's whiskey. Ramos is Mexican, but he drinks these alcohols because typically Spanish people don't drink them, and this will save him money. Fucking efficient. Now I consume my drinks, eat dinner, and go to bed on that Friday night. The next day I feel like shit, I'm tired, my brain is cloudy, and I can't seem to get motivated to do anything. But by Saturday afternoon, I'm okay, and I decide, a few more beers won't hurt. So I drink the same thing again. Now on Sunday when I wake up, I feel even worse. I know Sunday is a wash for me. This Friday, Ramos had a party to go to, and he was excited. He bought his alcohol and a bottle of Patron for the host because he would never think to show up to somebody's house without a gift for the host. On Sunday evening, as I'm recovering from my hardcore partying, if you will, I wonder what Ramos was doing. I call him up. He screams into the phone, "Hola, Pablo!" In the background, I can hear people and Spanish music playing. And I ask him, "How was your party on Friday?" And without missing a beat, he tells me, "I'm still there." He probably drank 75 beers this weekend, but he won't gain a pound because he also hasn't stopped dancing since he got to the party on Friday. Fucking efficient. On Monday morning, I get to the job and I'm setting up, and I'm a little concerned about whether or not Ramos will make it to work with the weekend that he just had. But my anxiety passes when I hear the sound of bass and trumpets coming from around the corner. A car pulls up and Ramos gets out of the back seat. He tongue kisses all 3 women in the back seat with him. He's dressed in his clothes from the party: dress shoes, dress pants, dress shirt, gold jewelry, and way too much cologne, wearing a sombrero. He puts on his tool belt and begins to help me to install the decking on this new house. How fucking resilient they are. That's it. Thanks.